Hey Internet, today we're going to be talking about terrain features on a topographical map. We've got a topographical map depicted here on our whiteboard, and we'll start with a hilltop. The hilltop is where you have the ground sloping down on all sides. If you're standing on the top of the hill, there will be no ground higher than where you're currently at. What that would look like on our map here. So we've got a few different hilltops depicted. That's where you've got terrain it's the smallest contour line, these squiggly brown lines, and they're usually always brown on your topographical map. And when they come together in very small circles or whatever shape that they're in, that's where they get the smallest, and that's the highest elevation. You're not getting anything that goes past that feature. On your map, these are usually depicted in some level of elevation. Usually, like a military map would be 20 meters from one line to the next. A lot of the National Geological Survey ones, they're going to be a 20-foot difference. So 20 foot versus about 65 feet for a military map. But anyways, you're going to have your hilltops are going to be the smallest where these circles come together. This one here you can see circle, and then a smaller circle, and then the smallest circle coming together. So where the hilltop goes up. Your next terrain feature is going to be a draw, cut, gully, something like that. There's a lot of different names. We're going to use draw. Ground is going to be sloping down in one direction, and on all the other sides, it's going to be going up. On our map. So we've previously identified some hilltops, right? We know this is the high ground. You're going to have a V on your contour lines and a series of V's pointing up towards this high ground. That's one way of identifying your draws. Another thing that you can look to is either an intermittent stream. So you've got dashed blue lines. That means an intermittent stream. Or if you've got a solid blue line, that means the stream should run year round. So you can tell that these are draws on this map because there's these dashed blue lines. Dashed blue lines here. And in all these instances, you've got the V's pointing towards this high ground here, pointing up. Same thing over here, pointing up. Then your next terrain feature is going to be a ridge line, ridge, finger. So the definition of that is you're going to have ground sloping down on three sides, and it's going to be higher than you on one. What does that look like? So on our topographical map, we know that the V's pointing towards the top of the hill. That is our draw. So the V's pointing away, these almost look like U's. They're going to be your ridge line coming down. You can have some steep ridges, like these V's are closer together, or you can have them where they're really wide. This is still going to be a ridge line. It's just trying to find the definitive line or high point is going to be harder because this is a fat band of ridge, if that makes any sense. It's still a ridge, but this one's much more gradual, and there's not a distinct feature versus a very sharp V that you might notice. So again, the V's are going to be pointing away or towards the low ground from your hilltop. A saddle, notch, gap, pass, that's the next terrain feature. You're going to have ground sloping down on two opposing sides. So two sides here, the ground's going to be sloping down. On these two sides here, the ground's going to be sloping up. So ground down on two sides, ground up on two sides. What's that going to look like? So you're going to have your two hilltops here. The space in between these hilltops is lower. That is going to be a saddle. This one here is a higher hilltop than this hilltop. But in between the two, you're still going to have low ground. So the low ground in between this high hill and this low hill is still going to be a saddle. You've also got a little tiny hilltop here on this ridge line coming down. So the ground goes down, it gets to this space here, it's the low point, and it comes back up for a hilltop before it starts going down. So this space here is still going to be a saddle. All right, the last terrain feature we're going to talk about today is a depression, and that's the opposite of a hill. So if you're at the bottom of a depression, you're going to have ground sloping up on all sides. So your depression, same thing as a hilltop, where it's going to be an enclosed circle, and you're going to have, the difference is you're going to have these little dash marks. Clues that you've got going in here, that this is probably a pond. So you've got your intermittent stream running into it. It's in the bottom of a draw. And then you've got some high ground here and a stream still. So this is probably a berm on a man-made pond with a stream running out of it. Probably one of your least commonly found features on a topographical map. But if you've got a little dash marks going in, that means it's a depression. Hope that helps. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments. Have a good day. Thanks.